Hello, everyone. It's Camille, and before we jump into today's episode, I just want to say it is a random Wednesday night. I am about to go to bed and wanted to record this little message just to say thank you so much to everyone who's been tuning in so far. We do get to see our analytics, and it's been so wonderful to see everyone who's been tuning in and listening and engaging with us, and we're so grateful for all of you. We have listeners from the US, Australia, Canada, Ireland, the UK, Italy, New Zealand, Germany, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, South Africa, Spain, Saudi Arabia, Paraguay, South Korea, Hong Kong, Poland, the Czech Republic. It's crazy just to see how many of you have tuned in to listen to us. I hope that you have enjoyed listening to us. This has been so fun for us so far. We can't wait to continue to bring you guys more. And so I just wanted to send our love to all of you and say a big fat thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we hope that you enjoy all of the craziness to come. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the Pit Crew. I'm Camille, your attending, and I have my residents with me.
I'm Mal.
And I'm Robert.
And today we have a special consult with us. She is a multi-talented person. We are incredibly excited to talk to Tal Anderson, is an artist, an actress, author, advocate. We recently in an episode discussed the baby girlification of characters like Mel King and characters with autism on the Pit, and we realized that Tal would be an incredible person to talk to about this because she plays Becca King, the sister of Mel King, and we're so excited to have her with us. Hi, Tal.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure.
We're thrilled. We're literally thrilled.
Yeah, any other introduction things you want to add before we get into our questions?
No, not at all.
How did it feel working on the Pit? Like, how was getting cast for this role? How did that all happen?
Wow. Wow, that's a really good question. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yes, please.
The process was normal, like all casting, but it was super exciting because it was a new show.
You get to bring this wonderful, genuine kind of spirit to the show. I think we see a lot of really pessimistic characters, and so we're just there's something so delightful about Becca, and we're so glad that it's you that plays her. What's it like to find a character like this and be like, I can come into this and really bring an advocacy to this, you know?
You mean once I got the role?
Yeah, when you see a role like that that's up for grabs, how was that getting to see that and being like, oh my God, I can do this justice?
Oh, okay. So, when I saw the script, I was excited because, the writing was so different. So I first saw the difference and, I was surprised and also happy, which is unusual actually. And at first, when I saw the character, I didn't get to see much of who Mel was, I just saw Becca. She was presented differently. There was something different about the writing. And, once I read the script, once I read more, I realized that, the relationship between Becca and Mel, the relationship between them was special. And, I was really, really, really excited.
Yeah.
Plus, I was excited to work on the show. And, with Fiona Dourif and Taylor Dearden, honestly, it was all good.
Yeah.
You mentioned the relationship between Becca and Mel, and they seem to have so much joy, in life and in each other. So what is it like to get to play kind of that side rather than a character who is struggling, just getting to lean into the joy and kind of the sisterhood there?
You're so right about that struggle thing. I've read so many scenes with autistic characters where, they're the burden or miracle, whatever, and not just the person. I'm talking about scenes where, there's a parent who's the caregiver who is all exhausted and haggard because their life with their autistic child is so draining or stressful. And the child is like flapping their hands or walking in circles or, throwing things because they're not getting the support they need in life or are frustrated or angry. I'm not saying these stories and behaviors aren't real, because they can be. I'm just saying that these stories are always the ones we show on screen. And it
Mhm.
shows a single view that unfortunately becomes a stereotype.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think one of my best friends in the world, and she was diagnosed with autism in her 40s, and
Mhm.
I just, because of the way it's always been portrayed to me, I was like, "Oh my god, really?" And she was like, "Girl, I could have told you." She was like, "Yes." And
Yeah.
so it's such a spectrum too. And for some reason in media, we like to, or what we see is just this extreme, as if like people can't cope, and it's like, oh, that's just so like, but there are beautiful stories that could be told, but instead, you know, we lean towards this negative portrayal of just the struggle of it, and not even just like the autistic character themselves, but
Mhm.
the burden they are to people. And it's like, but that's not true. Especially, when we talk about Mel, is like, yes, she has like caregivers fatigue and things like that, but at the same time, it's her greatest joy.
Right.
She loves it. She loves to talk about her sister, you know?
Yeah. What I really love about the pit is that autism is portrayed as more encompassing. The differences between Mel and Becca are huge. And even the other autistic character, who's played by Kobe Bird, is like so different from the sisters. But all of the interactions and relationships between these characters are very authentic, and you can clearly see that their neurodivergent traits are just part of who they are and how they navigate the world. Yeah, in the case of Mel and Becca, it's just sheer joy that comes from the love they have for each other. It was a breath of fresh air to be a part of that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
100%. Being part of that breath of fresh air is that you play this character that brings this wonderful injection of joy into the end of what ends up being like a really traumatic multi-episode arc. What was that like?
Well, it was really cool. When I saw the script for episode 15, after all the chaos and anxiety of the 14 hours prior, I was so happy to read it. Honestly, it was like having the opportunity to play the part of a big giant inhale and sigh. And that scene just felt so perfect when we did it. And you're right. I got to be that little bit of light, that brightens Mel's soul in that scene. And it felt like joy. Plus, Taylor Dearden she is so great to work with. And that scene was directed by John Wells. I felt fortunate for that also. Everything just felt right doing that scene.
We kind of had like a little offshoot of that question because she talks about how she wants to go watch Elf. Do you actually like Elf in real life?
Yes, yes, I do. Yes, yes.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
Was this already written into the script, or was this sort of like, hey, what's a movie you really like that we can have Becca talk about?
No, actually, no. They wrote it. They wrote it on the
Oh,
script.
Somebody really
Very
liked
cool.
Elf.
so just a happy little coincidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned in a post once on Instagram that Becca is Mel's twin sister. Mic drop moment for me. I didn't realize because it's never actually like said in the show.
Everyone keeps reacting to me saying that, so the character was definitely presented to me that way. I don't remember if it was mentioned in the show, so if not, then it's not true until the writers put it into the dialogue. It's
Yeah,
kind of like the tree falling in the forest thing.
sure.
If you don't hear it, it might not be so.
Maybe they're twins. Wink, wink.
you know, um, but for me, Becca is Mel's twin until I'm told otherwise.
I definitely think when I heard that, I was like, maybe that's something that like shifted once production started. Who knows, what happens with that? But like, how do you think when you come into it with that viewpoint, how do you think their relationship is affected? When you think about how Mel has basically, like, in essence, had to raise her twin sister, because I know Taylor has talked about the fact that Mel has been the caregiver, the primary caregiver for a lot longer than fans would think, because both of their parents have passed. So
Right.
what do you think that like the effect that has on their relationship? What is that like?
I think Mel and Becca feel like all they have is each other, right? That their relationship is solid because, they share the same trauma, but also because they rely on each other so much. It's just a, different kind of reliance for each of them, though. Even if you put the twin thing aside, family is clearly very important to Mel, and Mel, has a very strong sense of loyalty and responsibility in general. Becca depends on Mel to keep her safe and to fill the void their parents left. But like, in episode 15, you see that Becca brings as much joy and peace to Mel's life as Mel does to Becca's. I think it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Abbott warns Mel in episode 1 to like talk to him at the end of the shift. And then we have this moment in episode 15 right before Becca comes down where she is doing the far stare just the same way Abbott was doing when we first met him. And it's this wonderful juxtaposition of like the two of them morning and night. They're both gone through something horrible. They're both in this like almost catatonia, and
Yeah.
there's this I noticed when I watched that her eyes kind of like it's like she hears Becca start to come and her eyes kind of move before the rest of her face reacts. It's like she's catching up with herself, and just to see the effect that her sister has of breaking her out of that and saying, "Oh, come on, let's go do real life. Let's go get pizza and pasta and watch Elf." And you know,
Right.
it's
You
so
know,
wonderful and refreshing.
Yeah, actually, in that moment, John directed Mel to do that. And, it made such an amazing moment. Their relationship is so well written and constructed. If you understand the sisters' relationship, you get a clearer picture of what kind of person and doctor Mel is. And, maybe why she became a doctor.
She has these wonderful communication skills because she can listen and pick up so much, and she's learned that through communication with her sister, and she brings that into her job, and, that is her special sauce. The
Right.
ability to listen.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about kind of the infantilization of characters with autism, but why do you think that people tend to infantilize adults with autism, particularly women?
I don't know. I think people with disabilities in general are infantilized, and it comes from people thinking that we are helpless. I think, and women are treated as lesser and incapable all the time. Whether they're autistic or not, especially when it comes to physical stuff. So if you're a woman and autistic, it's like a double whammy. When I was a kid, I was disabled and naive and had some physical challenges. Whenever I would do something cool or difficult, like ride my bike or do a presentation, the response would, always be overly exaggerated. And it was usually accompanied with like oh, look at her, she's so amazing. And that's fine when you're a cute little kid, but as an adult, unfortunately, it still happens. And I could be wrong. That's probably not something they say to a non-disabled neurotypical adult woman. At least I hope not. and
You're like, "Yeah,
I
I can drive a car and I can run you over with it."
and I realize they don't do it to like belittle me, but the message to me is that I'm viewed as being not as capable as everyone else. And, it always leaves this little thing hanging out there where I think that some people think my achievements are great for, for an autistic person, not great in a general sense. And, you're right. That is annoying. Because I work really hard to accomplish my goals and I feel like I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I mean, I
You're
would
doing
agree. None
better
of
than
us have
me.
ever been on a TV show, so I think you're doing great.
That leads well into our next question. You just briefly touched on it. What perhaps are some other common misconceptions that you see people have in regards to adults with autism? You mentioned that as downplaying achievements, but are there any other misconceptions or any other ideas that people have in regards to adults with autism?
They're all misconceptions because, 9 times out of 10, people assume that, every autistic person is the same or has the same behaviors or challenges. The one thing I think people can change that would make a huge difference is to assume when you meet an autistic person that they're competent and capable of everything instead of, assuming they're completely incapable of everything. And then, being shocked and surprised when they can, tie their own shoes. You'll find that there will be things that every individual struggles with, but how is that different from any other person or stranger you meet, So just assume that people are capable, but, if it turns out they need help, just help them,
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's definitely, it plays into this idea that, like, well, we're all adults and adults are responsible for asking for help when they need help. And
Mhm.
so, like, everybody, we should all just be treating each other at a baseline. And then we can, if we need to adjust, we adjust,
Right.
Yes, and we all need help.
All of
Mhm.
us. Oh my God. I need so much help. I have one able-bodied coworker at work, and so anytime there's a heavy box, I'm like, Brandon, box. I'm like, I'm disabled. Please come get this box. I can pack it, and I will pack so much stuff into that box because I know I'm not going to lift it.
Right.
So there's this article that
Mhm.
I brought up to my friends. I'm not sure if you read it, so I've got the little excerpt if we need it. But there was this article, and I wanted to to get your thoughts on it. It's from Screen Rant, and it says something about how Mel wouldn't be able to understand like the complexities of Langdon's situation. They also say more emotionally nuanced moments flummoxed her.
Mhm.
Emotionally heavy moments hit her hard, and her emotional view of the world is more like a child's black and white binary. And so I was offended when I read that because I was like, God, she's a trained physician. And
Right,
so I
right.
wanted to like get your thoughts on that and like what is that like, how does it make you feel? What do you think about that kind of stuff? Like,
I have mixed feelings about this.
Okay.
In one sense, how dare they?
For sure.
But
I'm sorry. A secondary question would be like, have you read the article or have you seen the article?
yes, I have. In another sense, I kind of get it, but based on my own experiences, first of all, Mel's emotional view of the world is not like, like a child's. I mean, good grief, she's a doctor.
Yeah.
And not just and not just trained, she's great at her job.
Mm-hmm. She sure is.
Saying she can't process Langdon's complexity as a person? Seriously? I mean, she spent 15 hours showing us that, her ability to understand and to focus on, the human and complex and emotional elements of her patients,
Hmm.
it's what makes her a much better doctor than some of her colleagues.
Yeah. Yeah. There are definitely moments where she is the most emotionally in tune. And
Right.
we've also talked, about how she's the kind of doctor who's been dealing with patients like Jack Abbott. She's been working at
Yeah.
the VA. Of course, she can understand those complexities. She's probably seen so many with PTSD and addiction issues, especially working at the VA. Addiction issues would be a big deal. And so, of course, she could handle that. And so when
Right.
I saw this, I think we have this tendency to, when we have a character that we love and protect, we infantilize them. And they're like,
Right.
"Oh, sweet goodness," and so they literally don't understand anything, and I wish more people understood the harm of that. Like, it doesn't do anyone any good. It's
You know,
harmful.
I think that statement in the article is what was black and white, not Mel's view of the world. They basically said that what we love about her is that she's delusional. And that's completely false.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's completely false. I think what we actually love about Mel is her empathy and her ability to be human. And I don't know, she also has this way of processing all of the chaos in a more calm space versus like freaking out or lashing out. And it's because she's had to learn to regulate that for herself. And, I think people aren't used to seeing that. And it's not the typical way of dealing with stress.
She has incredible coping strategies.
Yes.
We see, like, with her hand posturing, even just, like, in mildly stressful situations, and I'm like, she's doing such a good job of not just, like, getting to the peak of, like, "Oh, no, I'm overstimulated," but she feels herself getting there, and she does these little things to bring herself back down.
Yeah.
I feel like this article sees moments like when Mel puts in her earphones after the pediatric drowning victim, or when she's in the break room with the dog. They sort of use those scenes and the idea of those scenes to be like, oh, look at her. She could never understand. She's a child, is what these kinds of articles kind of insinuate, but it's not true.
I mean, I do understand where they're sort of saying, she's too trusting and naive in regard to the interpersonal stuff. And yeah, she may be more trusting than, most people, but honestly, that's not her neurodivergence. That's her lack of experience with personal relationships and navigating the social parts of life.
Mhm.
I totally get that because I have that same problem.
Yeah.
But is it truly a bad thing to be so trusting and caring? Like, honestly, it's not Mel's fault if she
I
trusts
mean,
too much. It's the fault of other people who let her down in her trust.
Very true.
look, she spent her whole life protecting Becca and then med school and then dealing with tragic loss and finally spending all of her energy to become the best doctor she can be. And every free moment she's not working, she spends with Becca. So when did she have time to experience being lied to or falling in love or being cheated on,
Finding
etc.?
people to kiss, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna hit her hard when she finds out that Langdon is not the perfect mentor or
Mhm.
doctor or human being even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, "It's been one day." I also
Right.
cling to people and then go, "It's been one day, calm down." I think that's one of the most emotionally moving moments of the
Yeah.
series to me is Langdon and Mel in the break room because I am a highly sensitive person. I'm very
Mhm.
empathetic. I have depression and anxiety. And so I can empathize a lot with her in just that she feels so much. And he says to her that they need people like her badly. And that is such a validating thing to hear because what I hear a lot more often than that is you're too sensitive. And my
Mhm.
response is always, I'd rather be sensitive than insensitive, you know?
But even though it's one day, she did give her trust to him. Yes, he validated her abilities, and she's probably not used to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as fans of media, what can we do to demand better representation in like
You
shows
know,
like this?
um, I think the best thing for people to do is to uplift autistic voices, like you guys are doing now by having me on your podcast. So thank you.
We're
And
so happy.
Of course.
hopefully, as more actually autistic people are able to share our lived experiences, the view of autistics in media will become, more accurate, and the result will be more acceptance and more representation in stories about life that aren't necessarily focused on autism as a subject. Well, hopefully.
Is there something that we can do, or how can we be better when we discuss these kinds of things? What is it that we can do better, do you think?
Just give people the benefit of the doubt, and also don't talk about autism as a disease or, something that can be cured.
Hmm.
Mhm.
One thing that I do like about the show is that they brought in the parents of the little boy Tyler who had overdosed on the gummy, and immediately when the mother started being like, "Oh, so this much pot could have affected him and could even give him autism," immediately Mel shuts that down and is like, "There's no proof of that. Don't worry about that."
Right.
And she's almost a little defensive about it. It's almost a little snappy, her response, because it's so fast, and she's like, "There's no proof of that." And I think
Yeah.
even, like, Langdon kinda clocks it in that moment of being like, "Ooh." You know? And it's
Yeah.
refreshing to see someone be like, "Girl, shut up."
Yeah.
Like, "Is that always it so bad?" It's not how that works.
Right. Facts are always important. So do not spread misinformation about when it comes to information about autism. And, it's very, very, very important. Don't spread information about misinformation. Don't spread, misinformation about anything really.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out directly to RFK Jr. Like, "Hey, man, guess what? They out here getting married,
Right.
getting jobs."
Right.
Oh god. Okay, so my next question, I think is the most important one, is, you're a cat mom, and I want you to tell me about your cat.
Oh, my cat, my favorite topic.
I need to point out that while all these questions have been written out to sort of be like anyone could ask it, this is a specific Camille question of like, tell me about your cat.
Okay, so my cat, her name is Winifred, like the character from Hocus Pocus. So
Amazing.
I call her Winnie. She's a Norwegian forest cat. She's super hairy. And I adopted her in 2020,
Mm.
about a week before the COVID lockdown started. So, she's a pandemic cat and
Yeah.
so spoiled. you know, she's really funny. She talks to me or meows at me.
No,
And
it's talking.
and she always reminds me when it's getting late. It cracks me up. I guess she's very routine oriented. I don't know if that's because of me or she's just a lot like me. When she was a kitten, I taught her to play soccer and to fetch.
Amazing.
Yeah. Even with her little short legs, oh my god, it's so cute. She'll chase her little mouse toys if I throw them and bring them back to me. And if I don't brush her at least twice a day, she gets a little spunky. um, she's a superstar. I have to keep myself from posting pics of her every day on Instagram.
I don't think there'd be anything wrong with doing that. I think you
Do
should
it.
increase your cat posting pictures.
Just turn your Instagram account into a cat account.
Yes. I have two foster kittens. So I've got Achilles and Artemis. I found them on Broadway in Nashville almost a year ago, and they were just teeny tiny babies in the bushes with their mama, and I was like, "Come to
Aw.
the new mama." And so I'm trying to find them a good home. But I also have my own COVID kittens. They were born in April of 2020, and I got them in June of
Mhm.
2020. And they are Amelia Mignonette Thermopolis Rinaldi, Princess of Genovia, aka Mia, and Lord Nicholas Devereaux, aka Devereaux, and he's my big fat boy. He's a big old
Mhm.
fat black cat.
How do you do that? How do you foster and then get them up? I mean, I don't know if I could do that. I would end
Oh
up
my
with like
god.
10
It's
cats.
really hard until they start, like, destroying things, or you realize that if anybody gets sick, the vet bills for 4 cats, it's like, I can't handle that. I can buy food for 4 cats, that's fine, but I wouldn't be able to handle vet bills, and so I constantly tell myself, I know that no one will ever love them the way that I love them,
Mhm.
but someone will be able to better care for them because they'll be able to afford to care for them when they need it. And so that's how I have to be like, I have to let you go, but you used to hate humans and I was the first human to ever pet you, and I will never forget you. So it's hard, but I love it.
So how do you give them away? Like, are you depressed or?
I literally I it was so hard. I caught 3 of them, and I've one of them has been adopted, and I really did just the moment when I had to give him away, I just, like, stood there and held him and just thanked him for everything he'd done for me and for letting me do, train him and for trusting me the way that he did, even though he's like, I don't know what you're saying. You just have to have that heartfelt moment of like, thank you for everything you did for me and for allowing me to do everything I did for you. And I know you're just like so well suited and prepared for this new wonderful life you're going to have. So you have to genuinely, I don't think I could just let them go. I have to have like that one-on-one, like, thank you.
Honestly, I don't think I could do it. I need visitation rights.
I do need photos. I need photos. Now, my 2 cats, never. I will die with those cats. You're going to have to bury me with those cats. Like, no, those are my babies. I will never be separated from them.
Robert, do you want to tell us about your cat? Because you also have a cat.
Yes, I did. She's an aged cat at this point. She's turning 16 very soon. We're planning her sweet 16. Her name is Nebula, but my partner and I have been calling her baby girl for the past 2 years because she is baby girl. She's also very detail oriented, especially with age. So, when my partner and I are up late at like 9 o'clock, she comes into the room meowing. She's like, meow, come on, time to go to sleep. But it's 9 o'clock. Meow, I don't care. But we have any semblance of a good sleep schedule because of her. We got one final little fun question for you before we end our little interview, and it's, do you have any current special interests that you want to tell us about?
Well, people always ask me this, and I don't know actually if I have special interest in the way that a lot of autistics do. I have a lot of interest in general, though. For example, I love history and mythology and true crime, but I don't read or think about it obsessively or even daily. My more obsessive interests change all the time. Like right now, I'm obsessed with social justice. Well, because
Gestures to everything, yeah.
if I had to name the consistent ones, they'd be first of all, my cat, because I spend a lot of hours a day with her, taking care of her, playing with her, making sure she's healthy, etc. I've been obsessed with Winnie since I got her as a kitten. Another interest is I think the entertainment industry has got to be one of my special interests. So much of my life is spent working, thinking, watching, or reading something that has to do with film or television. It's why I love acting so much, and why I went to film school, and why I write scripts and make my own movies. And specifically, third interest, I'm a huge horror movie fan.
What's your favorite horror movie?
My favorite being the original Nightmare on Elm Street and basically the whole Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I'm a huge Wes Craven and Robert Englund fan, but I also like a lot of the cult classics like Rob Zombie's Firefly Family Trilogy and the Child's Play movies.
Horror is fun. You just gotta like suspend your disbelief. It's just a bunch of makeup and really good special effects.
Yeah, I love it so much. But the old stuff is the best,
It's always funny for me where I like old movies that do like graphic gore with really good special effects, but then when the PITT several decades later does very accurate looking medical situations like a degloved foot, I have to irk back a little. I'm like, that's a little too realistic.
Yeah. You just like blood, basically.
I guess.
Tal, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything before you go that you want to plug or promote or anything like that?
I have a podcast. It's called Harry Yarns. It's a horror podcast. You can listen on to all platforms. And I also have a children's book out right now. And if you buy it, the proceeds will go to organizations that lift up kids, with differences. It's called Oh Tal, Not Today.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's a picture book, and it's illustrated by Michael Ritchie White, the illustrator who did all of the illustrations for Atypical, another show I was on. Yeah, it's a really, really good book. And also Michael Ritchie White, the illustrator, he's also autistic and so talented. Yeah, so anyway, that's all I have working on as of now.
Incredible.
Amazing.
Tal, thank you so much for being on this podcast. We really appreciated having you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
As we like to say, if that's all, then so long, fellow losers. The Pit Crew podcast is created and produced by us, Robert, Mal, and Camille. It's edited by Robert. You can find us on TikTok, Threads, and Instagram at Pit Crew Podcast. If you'd like to support our other projects, our socials are linked in the show notes. Our art is by Rand Pacoca. He can be found on Instagram at Rand Pacoca. All patient questions and concerns can be emailed to pittcrewpodcast@gmail.com. And this isn't a Taco Bell, but we do appreciate a 5-star rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to schedule a follow-up appointment with a nurse before you go. See you next time.